Yo, what up, how you doing, guys? My name is Sangiev. Today we are back with another video, and as you can see from the title, we're going to be recapping or looking at my favourites from London Fashion Week men's collection. They all presented their full winter 19 collection. I was blessed enough to be able to invite us to a few shows, and I kind of wanted to give you guys my take on it. Now obviously this is going to be a very opinionated piece, and you might have a different opinion to mine, and that is perfectly fine. In fact, I encourage you to share your opinion in the description box and in the comment section down below. And also, before we get started, if the audio plays around with this video, my mic just ran out of juice, so I'm kind of going off the mic that is just from the camera. With that being said, let's get straight into it. So the way that I wanted to do it, rather than me discussing the best and the worst, I kind of narrowed it down to my top 5. And to be honest with you, it was quite hard to narrow it down to just 5 because there were a lot of designers that showed at London Fashion Week. And in fact, it was more of a weekend this year. It was just 3 days as opposed to 4, maybe 5, I want to say. It used to be maybe 5 or 4. But this time around, it was just 3 kind of crammed in. They changed their location from 180 Strand to East London now, which was a big change for London Fashion Week men's. But it was still a cool vibe, and it was great to see what designers were proposing for fall winter 19. So my top 5s. We're going to start off with number 5, and that is the British sort of sweetheart that is Daniel W. Fletcher. Man, the pieces were just amazing, and I don't mean this in a negative way. I found them to be very simple but very elegant, very beautiful. They were sophisticated, they were well cut, and in this collection in particular there was a great progression from his most recent collections. It felt and looked a bit more refined and more finished. I don't know, because it was the different fabrics that he used, or perhaps the cuts that he improved on his previous work. It just felt a lot more finished, and I absolutely loved it. He presented a couple of printed shirts which were inspired by his reference, which was a book based on the life in the 1970s, I want to say, if I recall properly. You know how I feel about printed shirts, I absolutely loved them, and I thought they looked amazing. He's still riding strong with the contrast stitching and the open buttoned bottom trousers. It's a bit of a weird one to say, but he presented it last year, and as I said previously, this year it just looked 10 times better. Then something that a lot of people were speaking about with his collection was the cummerbund. That is how you pronounce it, yeah. The cummerbund situation, which obviously cinches at the waist. It's just a great item to finish off a look and put your own little stylistic twist to an outfit. It's obviously inspired by more formal wear, but bringing it more to the casual side, I think looks amazing. And then one of his favourite outfits out of the bunch, for me anyway, was the all leather outfit. It's just so sick. Love the shape of the jacket and the black. Obviously you can, black is black, but it just looked amazing. And once again, with that cummerbund thing, whew, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Number 4. Now this was a hard spot to do because I was genuinely debating between 2 designers, and some people might disagree with me, but we've got Kiko Kostadinov. I think I pronounced it right, I might have butchered it. Once again, incredible collection. Straight off the bat, and I did pull this from Vogue, he referenced 2 films, one called Midnight Lace, which is a thriller from the 1960s, and the other one being The Ring, which is a horror movie from the late 90s. And you can kind of see that throughout the whole collection. The styling, the hair at the front, the various textures used throughout it. It was very grotesque, but it allowed for the eye to be focused purely on the clothing. And man, what an excellent designer he is. For me, the outerwear pieces were the ones that I gravitated the most to. They had beautiful cuts and great use of fabrics, and also exploring how 2 can be combined together. Basically, he was just exploring with various textures within his pieces, and I absolutely love that, especially when it is pulled off really nicely. Now, some of you guys, myself included, came to know about Kiko through primarily his collaboration with ASICS. I didn't really follow his journey prior to that, but that kind of allowed me to look back and appreciate his pieces a lot more. I would often go to Dover Street Market, where in the UK, it's one of the few places that I know that stocks Kiko. And the clothes are always so beautiful. So once again, going back to my point with the sportswear brand ASICS, he is carrying on with his collaboration. This time it's not limited to footwear, and it features apparel, and one of the pieces that stood out to me were the trousers, with once again the paneling with various materials, and the logo just sits on it so beautifully. So that is a massive thumbs up, and something that I think I can say across all designers, but Kiko does it really well, It's the beautiful collaboration of sportswear and tailoring, and by tailoring I mean well cut garments. It's not too sporty and techy, which a lot of London designers like to showcase, but there is a fine balance and he kind of shows how the two combine and come together really nicely. Love, love, love the collection. I don't know why I said that 3 times. And then, before I move on actually, the shoes, especially the, I think they were black loafers with white trimmings. Oh my god, they're buff. I would love to get those for the Fall/Winter 19. So that's number 4 with Kiko Kostadinov. Number 3, we've got one of the heavyweights of London, and that is Mr. Craig Green. Up until this point, he was arguably the hottest ticket at London Fashion Week. And once again, much like his previous collection, it was very theatrical, yet there is an element of practicality. And interestingly enough, to me, this felt like Craig Green's most commercial proposition as of yet. There was a lot of wearable pieces. Obviously, don't get me wrong, it was still very theatrical, but I could see this being worn by a lot more people than the previous collection, which is great to see from a commercial viewpoint. But I love the fact that he didn't dilute it so much so that it just became a boring commercial collection. There was still a lot of elements of theatrics. There was still some beautiful pieces, some that are completely unwearable, but still helps tell the story of the entire collection. Now, much like Craig Green's previous work, there was a lot of workwear elements within his jacket, his trousers. Straps were still flying around everywhere. It was colours and more colours and use of beautiful material. Some that were see-through, some that were semi-translucent, and then a bit more block and solid. And his use of colour is one of the best in my opinion. I thought the collection was fantastic. It was actually one of the bigger collections from London Fashion Week men's, featuring around 40 looks. And my final point that I wish to say before moving on is that Craig is one of those designers where it might be very in your face when he's presenting his runway shows and when you take a look at the runway pictures, but when you get a chance to dissect it piece by piece, it's a lot easier to take in and think of ways to style. So much like any other designers that I'm going to be showing you today, I urge you to kind of go take a look at the runway pictures yourself, because I'm only going to be selecting the best ones that I like. And the one final thing from Craig Green Fall/Winter 19 is going to be pockets. There's going to be pockets everywhere. Pockets of all sizes, like pockets, pockets, pockets. 3D inside the garments, pockets. Love it. Coming in at number 2, we've got Kasimi. Boy, one of my personal favourites from London Fashion Week men's. Khalid is just an absolute G when it comes to making beautiful garments. They are extremely wearable and they don't shock you like a lot of the other designers in London tend to do, yet they're so desirable and they look effortlessly cool. Much like Kiko, Kasimi presented elements of sportswear within the collection, but then he blended it so nicely with some lovely tailoring. And once again, by tailoring, I don't necessarily mean suits, but I mean well-cut garments, be it in the outerwear, be it in the jackets, the blazers, the trousers. There was hints of muted neon colors, which is something that I think we'll see much later in the year. Like right now, the very poppy, vibrant neon colors are a thing. It wouldn't surprise me if later down, it kind of gets muted down. And yeah, we saw that in the collection with some beautiful, beautiful colours. I've always loved the way Khalid cuts his outerwear pieces, especially the overcoats. And once again, there were very, very strong pieces within the collection. And finally, there seems to be a theme or a trend amongst all the designers that showed, but there was a lot of cargo pants, a lot of straps, a lot of elements of sportswear within his pieces. But once again, it's that very subtle line of being too sporty and too sort of London-esque and being a bit more refined, which I think Kasimi has done incredibly well. That is why he comes in at my number 2. I just absolutely love that piece, man. I don't own anything from the brand yet, but hopefully this year that will change. So Kasimi, number 2. And before we move on to number 1, I had to give props to some designers that I thought were incredible that didn't get a spot in my top 5, but they still presented such a strong collection. So honourable mentions go to Chalayan, I think that's how you pronounce it. It was a combination of various elements like skiing and horse vibes. I think the name is equestrian, but I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, so I'm just going to say horse vibes. And he knows, Hussein knows that he's a great designer that knows how to make beautiful and well-cut pieces. The trousers, for me, were the standout piece of the collection. They were flowy, yet heavy, which created an amazing silhouette. The material looked amazing, and the whole colour palette of every look, just beautiful. He managed to pull loads of trendy elements, threw it all in one pot and presented a very strong and cohesive collection. So Chalayan definitely gets an honourable mention, and then honourable mention number 2 goes to Mr. Liam Hodges. Although the aesthetic isn't for me, I love to see his collection and his pieces. They've all got such a cool vibe to them, and it's very sort of London #edgy. My personal favourites were often the trousers or the trackies that the models wore, and some of the denim pieces. I think Liam has a very strong understanding of colour and how certain fabric brings out certain colour better. And then last but certainly not the least, you've got to give a shout out to the boy Magnus for making his modelling comeback. by walking the runway. It was a very sweet moment for a little boy Maggie. So well done, mate. Which brings us to number 1, and if you haven't guessed it already, yes, it is a cold wall. This was Samuel Ross's first collection after notching his award at the BFC award ceremony for Young British Emerging Designer of the Year, I want to say. Maybe the wording might be wrong, but it was something along those lines. A lot of people were eager to see what he would present, and to be honest with you, with such hype and with such pressure, a lot of people wanted to see if he would live up to the expectations. And boy, did he do that. Firstly, the show itself was an experience, a spectacle, which I'm always very appreciative of. I think there is a very, very fine line between what makes a show a beautiful theatrical piece and then just a distraction from the clothes. Sometimes I'm all for theatrical shows, but when there's so much going on and it's just absolute chaos, yes, there is beauty in the chaos, but most times I find it too distracting. You can't focus on the piece of clothing and it's just a waste of money, it's just a waste of everybody's time. So to find that very fine balance is great. He had people crawl through water, he had a barking Rottweiler, and then finally we had the clothes. He stayed true to his core of abstract shapes and a lot of tech/sportswear elements, but he made it more refined, more polished, and more importantly, more ready for consumption by the general public. It felt like, and although people might not like this, it felt a lot more grown up. I could see a lot more people wearing his pieces, ranging from your 15-year-old to your 20 to your 25 to perhaps even your 30 years old, that aren't necessarily super into fashion. Now, something that was great within this collection is that it had it all. It had your sort of it pieces, like the orange 3D pocketed gilet, the bags that you know will just sell out as soon as they hit the stores, but also some of the other pieces like the tailored jackets and some amazing trousers, which might not necessarily fly off the shelf, but you know were necessary to present his proposition. Again, there was an amazing use of colours and fabrics, but to be honest with you, that shouldn't surprise anyone, since I'd say that Samuel Ross is probably one of the best when it comes to working with fabrics within London, especially the more abstract and experimental textures. I don't know how I feel about some of the cutout pieces, the ones where he cut out squares and rectangle out of the garments, but that's something that I might develop a better opinion once I actually see the pieces and try them on and get a feel for it. But man, what a beautiful collection. So shout out to the man like Sam for absolutely killing it. He did a fantastic, a phenomenal job. And that was my top 5, and as I said, you guys might disagree with me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. In fact, this is a bit impromptu. I want to call a couple of people to kind of showcase how we all have different opinions, and I know these people are quite opinionated. So let's see if this works. It depends on if they pick up. If they don't pick up, hello mate.
Hello mate.
How you doing?
Good.
Very quickly, because I know you're still in bed. Bro, yeah. It's freaking 1 o'clock. Why are you still in bed?
YouTube like feeling me good.
Alright, cool. So I'm speaking about my top 5 favourite designers that showed at London Fashion Week Men's, and we're talking about different opinions. So I kind of wanted to take your opinion very quickly. I don't need a whole spiel about it. If you were to give me your top 5, who were they? And briefly, why?
I can't name top 5.
Alright, do top 3 then, fine.
Top 3?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I forgot who was showed.
This guy.
Shit, dude. You pretty much stressing me out here, boy.
On the spot, mate. On the spot. We don't do this fake bullshit.
That was what? Actually, I've got here Robin Lynch.
Robin Lynch? Okay.
Fashion East movement.
Okay, cool, yeah.
Banging stuff.
Was he the one that showed with the face paints? Was he the last one that came out of the bunch?
No, first guy. Blue tracksuits.
Oh, right, yeah.
Tracksuits.
Cool,
yeah,
cool. Robin Lynch.
I really like Christopher Rayburn.
Okay, yeah.
Some cool shit. And then I'd say Liam Hodges. Your boy, Liam Hodges.
Nice.
So,
nice.
that's my
top 3? Top 3, exactly. So it goes to show his top 3 were almost entirely different from, they weren't even in my top 5. So there you go, boys. Well done. Thank you for bringing a bit of diversity to this video, mate. Appreciate it.
I'll go back to bed.
Alright, safe.
So, peace.
Take care, Roy. Bye bye. Come on, Pierre. Come on, Pierre. Come on, Pierre. Get on the line, you Pierre. Hey, come on, Pierre. Come on, Pierre. He's not gonna pick up. He's still sleeping in bed. you fail. But yeah, that's that, man. Unfortunately, I wanted to get Pierre, but hey, that's not gonna happen. So that was my top 5 London Fashion Week men's. If you want to see me do this for Milan and Paris, do let me know in the comment section down below, and let me know your top 5 or your favourite or your top 3 or whoever. But I am going to conclude this video right here. If you wish to follow me on my social media, it's all right here, Sangiev. That is for my Instagram, my Twitter, and everything else. That is it from me. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Peace. Bam! Oh, and hat is from Lock & Co, shirt is from ASOS, and this chain is from your boy. Links in the description box down below.